Kenya is an economic powerhouse in the East African region. Its Vision 2030 development strategy aims to accelerate sustainable growth, reduce inequality and manage resource scarcity. Ken Karuri sat down with Jim McFie, who's director at Strathmore Business School, and he asked him whether current growth is sustainable to reach those 2030 goals.
We have to remember that we need to become a very much more competitive country than we are at the moment. What holds back our competition? Costs. You know, it costs a tremendous amount of money to get our imports from Mombasa to Nairobi. We're one of the most expensive countries in the world to do that. You know, Uganda is more expensive than we are. Rwanda is more expensive than we are. Why? Because those goods have to come through Kenya. That's the only reason. So you see, we've got to, you know, for example, to get a 20-foot container from Los Angeles to New York is going to cost you less than getting it from Mombasa to Nairobi. So, you know, we've got to look at our costs. And, you know, government spending, how much of that government spending is really necessary? Our politicians are not making the environment conducive to the setting up of businesses here. Government is not doing that. We have it at the policy level that they are, but at the practical level on the ground, this is not happening. Unless it really happens, we're going to see unemployment increase. When you have productive young people who are unemployed, you cannot have your economy growing at 10% per annum. It's just unsustainable. It's not possible.
Now, manufacturers have in recent months been complaining that the inefficiencies at the Port of Mombasa are resulting in the country having a high cost of doing business. How much of a risk does this pose for the country's competitiveness?
The first thing I think we have to remember is that we have this incredible balance of trade deficit. That means that a lot of the goods that are coming into Kenya, being used for manufacturing purposes or whatever, are coming through the Port of Mombasa. Our imports through the Port of Mombasa are much greater than our exports out of the Port of Mombasa. But, you know, the fact that it doesn't work properly, the fact that, you know, we have this sort of political bent at the moment where the people at the coast are saying, look, Mombasa is not Kenya. Why? Because we're not looking after those people down there. So we've got to have this port working properly. Now, you know, we never actually solved the problem in Kenya. We've had the idea of actually turning over our port to the Singapore Port Authority. They've got one of the most efficient ports in the world. It was the largest port in the world until Shanghai overtook them a couple of years ago. So in this particular case, get those people in to run our port. Our port can be incredibly efficient.
There have also been other challenges such as the drought, which was devastating last year, as well as unemployment and high cost of living. In your opinion, is the government doing enough to address these concerns?
Why is it the government is so lackadaisical that it sits back and only when we get a crisis does it then react? We are in crisis mode the whole time. It's like mismanagement of a company, you know? You have crisis, you know, you stagger from one crisis to another. Why? Because you don't have managers. We don't have managers in government. That's the, you know, so we got to change that. But when are we going to do it? That's the question, you know? Is it going to be another 49? Are we going to be celebrating our 98th Madaraka Day? And then we'll say, well, we've got good managers in government. We got to choose managers, not people who just got a sweet tooth and a sweet tongue and a sweet mouth that can use very, very nice words, but in effect, they can't do anything. They can't deliver the goods.
And despite these harsh lessons, Dr. McFie, are you optimistic about the country's future moving forward?
Next year, we're going to have a new United Nations department moving into Kenya, providing the elections are peaceful. They will move in here, and you know, this is going to increase the demand for housing in Nairobi. So, you know, the housing industry at the moment in Nairobi is on a real boom. So this is going to continue that boom, that demand. And why? Because Kenya is a hub. It's much easier to run your African operations out of Nairobi than it is out of Johannesburg or Lagos. General Electric, for example, has set up shop here in Nairobi. Why? Well, the unions in South Africa are too powerful. They don't want to get pushed around by the unions. They want to have a free hand. They want to be able to hire and fire. So Kenya, you can do that. South Africa, you can't. Nigeria, you have problems there as well. So we're much more business focused in some way.